On this episode of Motorsport Recently, we look back at the America's Tire 250 at Laguna Seca. Also, we discuss the ridiculous amount of driver market news that has broken recently, because this episode is essentially a desperate attempt to catch up. This is Triple Crown Racing, let's get into it. I want to start by acknowledging that Don Panos has passed away from pancreatic cancer. I cannot overemphasize Don Panos' importance in the IMSA community. He came into sports car racing at a very difficult time and started up Petit Le Mans, the American Le Mans series, and was even responsible for the merger of Grand Am and the ALMS. Sports car racing would be very different today without him, if it would have even existed at all. Don, you will be greatly missed, and thank you. So last weekend, we had the America's Tire 250 at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. This round was going to be very important as the championship was heating up in all three classes, and with only a couple of rounds to go, a good result here would be extremely important. In the prototype class, Cadillac had the top two positions, with the Whelen car and the Mustang sampling car in first and second respectively, but underdogs Core Autosport were hot on their heels. In GTLM, the battle between Ford and Corvette still raged on, with the lead changing basically every round. In GTD, the 48 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini were only just leading over their rivals, the number 86 Meyer Shank Acura and Catherine Legg. In the lead up to the race, some interesting news came in that would be bad for Core Autosport's Championship Challenge, with the global LMP2 cars being hit with a balance of performance change that would, in theory, change the tide in favour of the DPI cars and would give the LMP2 cars 10 kilograms extra weight and less fuel capacity. In qualifying, the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac of Jordan Taylor and Renger van der Zande qualified on pole, followed by the number 6 and the number 7 Penske Acura. In GTLM, the number 4 Corvette of Oliver Gavin and Tommy Milner was on pole, followed by the 66 Ford and the 3 sister car. In GTD, it was the 86 Acura of Alvaro Parente and championship hopeful Catherine Legg on pole, followed by their championship rivals in the 48 Lamborghini and the 33 Team Riley Mercedes. So the stage was set for an awesome race. At the start of the race, there was quite a big crash involving the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac, the number 66 Ford, and the number 911 Porsche. The Cadillac was spun around by the 99 JDC Miller Motorsport car right into the path of oncoming traffic. This would have massive championship implications, as both the 5 and the 66 were major players in the championship, and all three cars involved in the incident were essentially out of the race. Now, we basically spent the first third of the race under caution, because pretty much right after we went back to green after this incident, the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW caused another caution because it had its own accident. When the race went back to green, the number 67 Ford and the number 4 Corvette came together, putting the Ford out of the race, meaning that both Fords were out of contention, and this would be a massive blow to the championship challenge of both Fords. In the prototype field, things were getting interesting. The number 31 car pit in a closed pit lane, which meant it got significantly held up and ended up losing out to the Core Autosport car. Harry Tinknell in the number 55 Mazda was leading the way, but came together with Gustavo Yackerman while trying to lap him, causing him to spin out and lose the lead of the race. Two new contenders emerged in the race. in the form of Pipo Derani in the number 22 Tequila Patron ESM car, and Colin Brown in the Core Autosport car. Both of them, impressively, were able to get past the two Penske Acuras. In GTD, the number 48 Paul Miller Lambo had been doing well before succumbing to tyre wear and lost their place on the podium. Park Place Racing, with their number 73 Porsche, were looking hopeful for the race win, but would eventually lose out to the 86 Acura after it fought through the top four. In GTLM, amazingly, for the second time in a row, the number 25 BMW was able to beat the rest of the GTLM field after many cars in its class ran into problems. The race ended, and underdogs Tequila Patron ESM were able to win the race, followed by Core Autosport, who managed to beat their championship rivals. In GTLM, the BMW ran away with the win, and away from the rest of the GTLM field, and despite concerns that it was struggling to save fuel, it actually still won the race. In GDD, Catherine Legg and Maya Shank Racing have kept their championship hopes alive, winning the race with their championship rivals finishing fourth. The championship now looks like this. The Prototype Championship is now closer than ever. The Whelen Cadillac leads the championship over underdogs Core Autosport by just 4 points. The Mustang sampling car has moved down to third, but is only 5 points behind Core. In GTLM, the number 3 Corvette leads the championship over the 67 Ford and its sister car, but the number 4 Corvette is now in 5th place behind the 912 Porsche after some very poor results. In GTD, there is a 6-point difference between Paul Miller Racing and Catherine Legg in the 86 Acura. Her teammate isn't actually in contention to win the championship, but she is. This would be her first IMSA Championship victory. The IMSA Championship going into Petit Le Mans is so ridiculously exciting, you'd be insane to miss Petit Le Mans. I know I will be watching it, and I'm actually thinking about doing a live stream during the race. It all comes down to Petit Le Mans. The silly season this year in Formula 1 has been mental beyond belief. I thought I'd already covered the most interesting stuff already, i.e. Daniel Ricciardo going to Renault. Wow, who could have predicted that? Turns out, it's nothing compared to some of the other stuff that has happened. Let's talk about the teams that are changing for the 2019 season. After Daniel Ricciardo's move to Renault for 2019, the Red Bull lineup will look like this. Max Verstappen will keep his place at the team, but young gun Pierre Gasly will fill the shoes of Ricciardo. McLaren will be completely changing its lineup for the 2019 season. Fernando Alonso is departing the team and will most likely participate in the Verizon IndyCar Series and the World Endurance Championship next year. Stoffel Van Dorn will be getting booted from the team as well. They will be replaced by former Toro Rosso driver and Renault driver Carlos Sainz Jr., which is actually quite interesting because in the early part of his career, he was looking like a Red Bull hopeful. And Formula 2 ace and McLaren Jr. driver Lando Norris will be joining the lineup. The most interesting team change so far at the time of me writing this, only about a day ago, and I say that of the time of me writing this, because this episode's actually quite late. This has taken the driver market chaos cake. This is by far one of the most controversial driver changes we have ever seen. We sort of expected this though. Charles Leclerc will be taking the Ferrari seat in 2019. However, no one could have predicted this. Kimi Raikkonen, 2007 Formula 1 world champion, will be going back to Sauber after 17 years. Oh my god! Honestly, who in their right mind would have actually predicted that? The driver market has actually been crazy. If you said 2 years ago that Fernando Alonso would be driving an Indy car, Ricciardo would be driving a Renault with Lotus DNA, Jenson Button would be driving a Honda NSX in a Japanese touring car series that no one has ever heard of, and an American guy with an RAF moustache would be in control of Formula 1, I would have called you mental. But here we are in the midst of the craziest driver market the sport has ever seen. I was talking to my friend Will Holtz, American kart driver. I will leave a link to his Instagram in the description below. And when I say kart driver, I don't mean IndyCar driver. After the Raikkonen announcement, so I was talking to him after the Raikkonen announcement happened. He was asking who would be getting the Harding Racing seat in IndyCar, whether it be Patricio O'Ward and Colton Herta, and I ended up just saying, judging by the craziness of the driver market in all motorsports right now, it could be Jackie Stewart for all we know. Anyway, in this story, if I haven't mentioned some teams, it's because their lineup hasn't yet been confirmed, but when they do confirm, it will be covered right here on Motorsport Recently. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode of Motorsport Recently. Now, I do have, well, I said small in the script, but it's actually kind of a big announcement. And take this as you will. The episode after Motul Petit Le Mans and the 6 hours of Fuji will be the last episode of Motorsport Recently for the year, and at this stage I'm not sure it will be coming back as we currently know it. Now, hear me out. As you probably know, even this episode is late out. The last ones that I've made have also been late out. The episodes that have been late haven't been at a standard that I would like them, and I don't want to make low quality videos. What I am going to do is start working on some really cool projects which I wouldn't have had the time to work on if I continue this series. I will still be covering significant pieces of news in individual videos. It's not necessarily the end of Motorsport Recently, but it will be the end for this year after Petit Le Mans. It is for the best though, and I will be able to make some very cool stuff. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.